That's a battle for position. That's for the lead. They've run down long finally. They have finally caught him up, and this allows the 48 to finally get into it, and he is going to take the advantage of the chance. He is going to get by Acosta. Is he also going to be able to get by the lead? It looks like he might be able to get 2 positions as one. He gets a hello from the 5 behind. No wreck, though, just a little bit of contact. The bumping and rubbing might actually shove Octavio Rondoletto back to the lead for the first time in some time, and indeed, Octavio to the point. Big wreck, and Marty and more cars. It looks like John Keefe is in there, and Gabbiani is carrying him. Literally carrying him.
Car 19's got a new hat. I wouldn't expect to be a Marlboro branded hat, but there you go. Unfortunately, John Keefe having to be a passenger all the way, literally, through that entire incident. That is worthy of a replay right there.
He got himself a cowboy hat. Bradley Hawley not defending. He's going to leave the door open. Michael Michaud is going to try and take it. He sends it in deep. Will they make contact, or are they going to keep it clean? They're going to keep just enough space between them. And for the second lap in a row, Hawley is able to hold his nose ahead.
Able to hold his nose ahead, and he knows that the advantage is now going to switch back to him through Rauch. That is Michaud trying to carry that momentum around the high side. Isn't able to do so. Dives back in the line, looking for a little bit of a crossover there. Starts to get his nose down to the inside into Verth. He's going to go for the maneuver. Hawley, able to hold it out, but he may run wide here at the exit. Will that give an advantage back? No, but it will give it back to Boucher, who's now able to make the move on Michaud. A little bit of a look there from Parton, and that's just him trying to poke his nose, see if he can get any sort of a head fake, and he got one.
He goes a little bit wide, sent it in deep. He's got the inside into the second corner, though, is Partonen could be able to complete the pass. He tries to pinch him down, but gives him a fair bit of space. The battle continues down into turn 3. He's on the inside. They're going to bang wheels. They come together. He knocks him back straight, but Partonen is now your leader. Here comes Glover, up the inside, down through the final turn and onto the front stretch, almost pushing him off the track. He has to slow up. We're going to go 3 wide as to the inside of both of them. Bergstrom says, thank you very much. I am going to snatch up P7 with that.
Oh, here comes Nicholson. He's going to look around the outside, going through that first sector. Has to look for the crossover now. He's going to go down to the inside.
It continues into turn 3. They go wheel to wheel. Track switches back. He's actually got a nose ahead, but just no grip on the marbles. Almost goes out into the grass, but he's holding on just barely.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
This season has been one full of dominant and clutch performances. Last time out at the Donington Park circuit, Team Shazoo's Alex Fournier scored his second straight victory and a max points day to extend his control over the pro driver standings. On the AM side of the paddock, it was Robert Ridgway who scored the class victory. But it was Michael Broomhead who picked up the valuable points he needed for his title fight against Christopher Richards and Takeshi Kita. Now, with a couple rounds to go, the pressure is on to perform, and it only gets higher from here. This is round 8 of the PRL Open Wheel Series, live from the virtual Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good evening, everybody. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by the great Ducky Beard. Today takes us to a legendary race circuit with a long, rich history in motorsports, both in the real world and in the virtual world. In fact, the facility is in the midst of celebrating its 100th year of races. Now, during the PRL's amateur series for this car last season, it was Kevin Santana who ended up taking the win by more than 13 seconds. But the question is, how will things fare today? But first, let's take the time to learn about the rich history referred to with our Gsrc track guide.
Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round.
That was a look at the Gsrc track guide for Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Now, DJ, in most years, the real-world Belgian Grand Prix puts on exciting racing from start to finish. The question is today, though, what should we expect for these drivers with their Formula 3 cars here at Spa?
Well, Justin, I think we should be in store for exactly the same kind of exciting action we have come to expect from this circuit. These Formula 3 cars are going to act a lot like the Formula 1 cars that we are used to seeing on this track, in that the prime overtaking opportunities will be going down the long Kemmel Straight, taking advantage of the draft, going into Lacombe, as well as going down into Bus Stop, that final corner. Now, the crucial corners to set all of that up, you've got to get La Source right. That first hairpin, the right-hander that sweeps downhill a little bit. And it's not just about staying directly close behind the driver in that situation. You actually need to leave leave yourself a bit of a gap as you go up, as you do not want to be catching the driver up through Eau Rouge and Radion and have to lift a little bit through there. The second sector of the track, well, there it's going to be a little bit of follow the leader. We could see some aggressive moves into Malmedy or Ravage, but really from Jackie Ix all the way down to Stavilo, it is going to be pretty single file, and it's all just going to be about setting everything up. The aero wash will be pretty heavy through there, so it's going to be interesting to see what drivers can do. We'll talk about this more in the race, but this could also be a race where your setup and your aerodynamic decisions come and affect you big time.
It's going to be major, to say the very least, that you get that preparation in and have gotten that set preparation in for a race such as tonight. Now, as these drivers continue on with qualifying, I'd like to take the time to remind of the title sponsors supporting PRL's competition this season for the Open Wheel Series. Our broadcast is brought to you by ASR, owned and operated by passionate SimRacers. Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL Open Wheel Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting more than 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking performance. And it's a perfect time to start seeing how the performances have been tracked throughout the campaign so far, and it's also fitting two of the top three drivers represented by NinjaTrader Esports Pro, but it's the Team Shazoo driver of Alex Fournier who ends up leading by 35 points over the legendary Byron Daly. Then it is Raymond currently in the third position. He'll look to try and move things on ahead after his trouble last round. Then is Placio in fourth position for SRT Esport. Rod Schilnard, I should rather say, is 82 points back for Delta Sport, rounding out the top five today on that side, DJ.
As we take our eyes over to the AM Drivers' Championship, you can see there Michael Broomhead holding a 13-point advantage, courtesy of those good points he was able to pick up last week out in Donington. Christopher Richards, on your screen there, not too far behind him, though, and only 7 points back is Takeshi Kita. So it is still possible for these drivers to swap around a little bit in these final stages. Brett Barrett's a little far back off of the lead and 16 points off of Takeshi Kita, but Robert Ridgway breathing down his throat there, only 4 points off.
And it shouldn't be surprised when you have second and third place in the pro driver standings that you have the top team right now standings-wise. NinjaTrader Esports Pro, despite not being able to get to victory lane so far this season, has an 18-point advantage over Britannia iSports. Then it's Atomic Racing, 24 points back. Lone Tranny Racing is 90 points back. They're in a fairly heated battle so far with Ninja Trader Esports and its AM team. That's 92 points back of their pro counterparts. Let's look once again at the standings entering today's action. With that, it's time to look towards your race details for what's expected to be an intriguing Grand Prix, DJ.
Exactly, and it is courtesy of such a long lap around here at Spa that we're only going to be doing 18 laps out here, a standing start, as is traditional in this Formula 3 series. And this is where the open setups will come into play, Justin. Drivers are able to tweak and tune those cars to what they want, and we're going to see a variety of setups. Maybe drivers trimming out a little bit to take advantage down the Camel Straight, maybe some drivers putting more downforce into the car to try to go faster through Sector 2, or maybe a happy medium in between. We will have to find out as this race goes along. There are some penalties out there, though, and drivers are going to have to be careful. This is a track that it is notoriously easy to pick up off tracks and 1Xs. You'll get a drive through at 13. You'll get disqueued at 17. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But there's also some good points out there for pole, fastest lap, and 3 incidents or less.
It's also important to be able to remember for today, these drivers, meanwhile, they're already within the final 4 minutes of open qualifying. And while some are having major spins and others are having to dodge them, it shouldn't be a surprise to see Alex Fournier, someone who really loves this racetrack and this car, to be at the top of the board by 3/10 currently over Raymond Day with a 209.804 in qualifying. Lacio Daly rounding out the top 4 in qualifying so far. And keep this in mind as well, the track conditions are pretty cool. In fact, extremely cool, DJ, for today. 66 Fahrenheit air temp, 19 Celsius.
Exactly. Pretty high humidity as well, so that means the downforce is going to be working a little bit better in these cars. They'll be able to go a little bit faster, have a little bit more confidence through curves like Fagnes, Stavelot, and Blanchimont. But that's 69 degrees tach temperature. That's pretty chilly out there, Justin, and especially with the standing starts, these guys are going to have to be very, very careful getting off the line, getting onto the binders down into La Source, as well as flinging those cars up through Eau Rouge and Radillon. There's a lot of lateral load that goes through there, and with some cooler tires, you could see a little bit of breakaway, so it's something they'll have to keep in mind.
Looking out, Robert Ridgway for Atomic Racing. He's 6th right now on the qualifying board. Bit of shuffling, keep in mind, amongst some of those top spots as more drivers pick up the slipstream. But one of the main things to think about, too, when it comes to some of this preparation for some of the drivers, such as Steven Ritters, he actually gave compliment to Atomic Racing prior to today's action, because Atomic Racing, for those who don't know, does host some practice sessions and races throughout the season to help their fellow competitors be able to get some testing in. Steven Ritters said he highly recommended that his competitors do that because it helps them with testing the pit strategy and determining how his pace is prior to approaching the actual final practice in the qualifying.
Yeah, exactly, Justin. You know, one of the things that is really crucial, especially at a long track like Spa, like this, you can only do so much when you're just out there running hot laps. The whole makeup of the car changes when you are trailing closely behind another car and when you are running in race trim in that mode. And so being able to go out there and run practice races, it not only helps you get a better feel for everything, but it lets you know what the car is going to be doing later in the race, in dirty air, all of those variables that you are not able to take into account when you are just out here in a time trial.
Take a look, meanwhile, at one of those drivers getting a bit of clean air. That's Roddy, currently trying to bump up his time from a P3, a 2:10.5. A lot of cloud cover as well over top the racetrack. With how he's taken that mark at the stripe, though, keep in mind, as he's bumped up the time by 1/10, with the open qualifying session format, drivers will have a bit of extra runoff time to complete the current lap they're on, meaning if you want another lap to try and put something on the board, you better get to the start and finish line with the next 15-20 seconds.
Exactly, and I think it's going to be pretty close on that. The two that I'm seeing coming on right now are Matthew Gunderson and Owen McLaughlin. They're currently making their way through Blanchimont right now, so I think that's about going to be the cutoff point. There is Gunderson on your screen right there for the Blown Tranny Racing team, diving his way through bus stop. He should be able to cross the line, no problem.
It's going to be Ridgeway, potentially, who's the closest out of them. One of the drivers behind that is McLaughlin pulling off and in. Pardon me, that's Steven Ritters, who is in the backdrop behind. So now, Ritters was not able to get to the stripe to be able to take an additional qualifying lap, meaning some of these drivers will be completing their current runs right here, or in the case of Gunderson, he will be among just a couple who will be able to complete one more lap before the end of this session. Here comes Day. Day looking very speedy for the Ninja Trader Esports organization this season. He had a validated lap last time. How about a 2:09.7 this time?
Mega lap there for Raymond Day, and Fournier is going to call it into the pit, so that is going to be Raymond Day pipping your championship leader to pole 4 now. Here comes GSRC's own Joey Tebben for Atomic Racing, making his way out of the bus stop. He's going to come across the line, not able to improve there.
So middle of the pack, it looks like, for Joey Tebben. And as some of these drivers continue to make their way around the racetrack, keep in mind, he had mentioned, Joey Tebben, the speeds they were reaching about 150 plus miles per hour today. So think about that as this day goes on and as this race goes on. 2 minutes left to go in open qualifying. Just a couple drivers left in total can complete the runs. Ridgeway is one, Gunderson is the other.
Exactly, and Ridgeway here is going to want to be doing pretty well for himself, currently back in 6th place, which puts him on top of the AM standings. But I reckon he'd like to be in the middle of that pro battle if he can. He'll cross over the line, not an improvement for him. So now it's all down to 22nd place Matthew Gunderson, the last car able to set a flying lap here.
About 150 miles per hour heading into Blanchimont currently. Last time was a 2:12.250, the quickest from him so far this session. And qualifying expected to end shortly after this. So Gunderson heading through the bus stop. What will his final qualifying time be? This is the final driver to set one. Able to get up to 18th position, a 2:11.6. And all the drivers who were able to put in times in this session. An incredible qualifying session. It adds that little extra bit of pressure for some, especially with Day now on the pole here at Spa in turn.
Indeed, Justin. That's going to be really interesting. And keep an eye out for Stephen Verity. He is a driver that we've seen a couple of times or in earlier seasons, making a bit of a return here. That number 04 machine, always strong. Also, Byron Daly, Raymond Day's teammate, lining up in 4th. He'll be one to keep an eye out for as well.
Should be a shock to keep in mind the speed with Daly, with how much he's regarded in both esports and real-world racing. Known for his ability to drive a virtual stock car, 109 career eNASCAR starts, which was 12th all-time, exiting this past season. Someone that races go-karts, but also is someone who's credited with crew chiefing a couple times, the NASCAR Xfinity Series level. But now the test is coming into play for tonight's action to see who will be able to conquer Spa, and who will be able to try and battle things out for tonight's action. The drivers have wrapped up qualifying. It's time to take a quick look at your starting lineup for today's race. Raymond Day starts on the pole today. The founder and executive chairman for Ninja Trader Group start alongside Alex Fournier. Then is Verity in 3rd position, a 2:10.2. That is nearly half a second behind on the pole mark. Byron Daly in 4th with Placio Ridgeway. Menar, along with Kita, rounding up the top 8. Rounding up the top 10 starting positions, Duhamel and Broomhead.
Starting off at 11th will be Christopher Richards, followed by Steven Ritters with Joey Tebben and James Holland behind them. Nick Horvath will start at 15th, followed by Tyler Scarali and Dave Peterson, with Matthew Gunderson 18th, Brett Barrett 19th, and Johnny Luna rounding out your top 20.
James Cotter starts 21st, Topper Gore 22nd. Adam McDonald, keep in mind, did have a penalty in the last race, 23rd. Donald Olson's 24th. McLaughlin will start 25th. The last driver to set a qualifying time was Daniel Arnott. net. Then 3 drivers elected not to qualify, and all 3 drivers did not make it to the track for the end of practicing for the grid, it appears. All 3 Gopheries will not be on the grid tonight, so 26 drivers expected to take the green when the lights go out here at Spa. Just waiting for the last of the drivers to jump on. All the competitors have now made their way to the grid. The drivers are ready. The cars are ready. Are you ready? PRL Open Wheel Series action is underway from Spa. Off into a source for the first time today. Day tries to defend hard to the inside line. Fournier stuck up on the outside. 2, 3 wide as they make their way through the corner. A clean start as they make their way up the hillside for the first time.
Indeed, Fournier now trying to tuck up behind the draft there of Raymond Day, weaving a little bit, I think trying to break that up a little bit too wide there in the back, but everybody sorting themselves by the time they get to Eau Rouge. It's now a big train, and here comes Alex Fournier, already making the move on the Kemmel Straight, and that is going to be the Ninja Tater teammate of Byron Daly, almost making it 3 wide.
Daly trying to find a hole, any hole it looks like. Heading into Lake Holm, no move going though. Daly loses a bit of time on corner exit. They now make their way out of the exit, heading off to Revenge for the first time today. Heading before the Jackie X corner, as one car is now in trouble. The O2, Kita was also involved.
Yeah, it looks like Jonathan Almanar had a problem coming out of Malmedy rather. There is Takeshi Kita, but we got to keep our eyes focused here on the front because Alex Fournier is not out of the woods yet. Raymond Day keeping close behind. There's getting a little bit of gap built up between himself and Byron Daly and Stephen Verity.
Top 5 have already broken away by more than 1.7 seconds, but some of them, they're not waiting patiently amongst this lead group. Several trying to take a little peek here and there that time, heading to advantages as they head off to stop low. This time, the first lap's been wild so far, just one driver off the circuit, but right now that top 5 trying to remain grouped together with Daly, keeping within the draft of Fournier.
But he's a little far back, but I think the one to keep an eye on there as we jump on board with Byron Daly, that is Stephen Verity, looking very, very threatening as they throw their way through Blanchimont. He was a lot closer before the entry to that corner. You see Julio Palacio poking his nose this way and that. These top 5 are going to stay single file going into the bus stop for the first time, but Justin, I don't anticipate that staying the same way for a long time.
One more driver has just had an issue. This time, it's the 16 machine. That is Gsrc, who ended up having some trouble. He's now shuffled back to 25th as he ends up adding some front wing damage for good measure. Overall, just 2 drivers getting significant levels of damage during the first lap. But it's Fournier, who is already looking, DJ, like he's got the pace to break the draft. He's 1.2 seconds up the road already.
Justin, I took my eyes off this lead pack, and the next thing I knew, Alex Fournier was streaking down the track. This is remarkable. Absolute speed here from the 116. I wonder if he's running a little bit more of a trimmed out setting as we've got a battle in the back. That's Palacio and Verity.
Those drivers have just indeed swapped around, but it did cost them some time now to the teammates for Ninja Trader. So now, drivers trying to get a rhythm on together. Oh! Also, some more trouble now. The 49's in an issue. Joey Tebben is also involved.
I watched that happen. That was Christopher Richards. He got a little bit loose coming out of Lacombe, touched the grass, tried to hold the brakes, and just came right across the track.
Well, it's 3 wide, first of all, up the Kemmel Straight, which is fine until you get to this corner entry. And you see the compromised line, factors into the curbs, and bye-bye race cars.
Exactly, came across the track there. You see the brake smoke. He tried to hold it, tried to get that car woed down, and absolutely nowhere for Joey Tebben to go. He was just a hapless victim here. We ride on board with the 60.
Wow. He had no idea what was coming.
Yeah, that is very, very tough, and that looks like it's pretty much going to be Joey's day done here today, unfortunately, as we check back in. Looking here, ooh, Nick Horvath looking like he's going to be trying to make a move here on Johnny Luna.
This is the battle going on for 9th position currently. Bit of technical issues for the car on the left side. That causes a bit of hesitation. So that checks things up. That is Luna that had the technical issue for the split second. Horvath electing to back up there, DJ, just to be on the side of caution there to make sure there wasn't any major attrition. As now the car gets loose. Luna off the racing line. Passing on by is Horvath.
He's going to be able to slip on by, but this may give a little bit of an advantage here to Johnny Luna. Remember what I talked about in the draft in the Kemmel Straight? We ride on board here with James Holland in that Ninja Trader Esports AM machine. He may have a 2-for-1 going 3 wide down Kemmel.
How about going to the grass to make it 3 wide, in fact? No one's backing off yet. Delay Combe on lap 3. No one's backing off. Horvath now backs it off. Luna nearly squeezes Holland off the track. They settle back on down, but it's Luna back up the 9th despite a major bobble through a source to start the lap. It's worth noting, DJ, that James Holland has the driver who won the first 2 races in F3 competition in PRL history. David Holland on the box tonight.
Exactly, so he's got some good coaching in his ear tonight for sure. As it looks like these guys are finally going to be taking a breath as they work their way down through Puhong.
Well, you say that, but Horvath gets a good run this time, going into Les Venges, going along the outside line, making that one work. That's not an easy way to make a pass there.
No, it's not, and it's not one you see every day, Justin. That is just Nick Horvath being very opportunistic and being able to get by Holland. I've got to give him kudos. Oh, as that looks like Sean Duhamel taking a bit of an opposite line there in the back.
Duhamel able to strain things back out. Of note, the top 2 have now broken away by a significant amount. Day is keeping up the pressure on Fournier. Daly is just within draft distance. These drivers still sorting themselves out around the edges of the top 10. Hamilton having to back off a little bit after an attempt to make the move. Stay single file as expected to the bus stop here. It's been a crazy first couple laps to say the very least. I don't think we're expecting this crazy though.
No, not exactly, but I think drivers here are just trying to scramble to try to get whatever positions they can. This massive train here forming, though, in the mid-pack, all behind Nick Horvath and Johnny Luna.
The race lead, meanwhile, we mentioned the importance of slipstream down the Kemmel Straight. How about a thought for a move from Dave for a split second, getting side by side for a moment? And now this also brings in the question, do you try and save gas here? With this series, there is a 50% fuel limit.
Well, there is indeed, and there is plenty of time and space and opportunity at Spa. Ooh, that was a little bit of a wide run there through the corner for Fournier. There is plenty of time to do it, and we have seen the overcut be the most prevalently beneficial strategy in this series. The only problem with it is it is such a long lap around here, Justin, that if you decide to go for that extra lap, the margins are very, very narrow. You do not want to run out here.
Now that things have settled down for now is the key word on that, Mark. We mentioned a bit of the attrition at the start of the race that impacted a few drivers, at least 1 or 2, getting significant damage. Take a quick look on the Gsrc replay machine to see how some of that attrition built up. And keep in mind, some of the drivers who were involved in this chaos, or it looks like at least 3 people were in the grass down the straightaway, have seen already us down to 19 cars running. Check the 20.
Yeah, exactly. And this is that issue that collected Takeshi Kita and Christopher Richards. Richards looks like he may have gotten a little bit of a bump in the back there. Excuse me, that was Almanar. May have gotten a little bit of a bump in the back there, and Kita going around as well on the 64. Let's take a look at the overhead shot here, Justin.
See if the tree is able to move out of the way here. Nope, the tree hides. But a couple others find the way out of the clearing. Unfortunately, it's the wrong way around.
Exactly, and looking at that again with that overhead shot, it looked like there was a little bit of a bounce from that O2 of Almanar. I have to kind of think that may have been a little bit of ghost contact, but here comes Day again for the lead.
Right on the rev limiter. 160 miles per hour into the corner, move Raymond Day to the race lead. And you can tell he is hungry to bring this team to victory lane. As mentioned, not a single victory for the group, but they've had several top 5 runs.
Indeed, and what this battling between himself and Fournier is doing is this is actually playing into Day's hand. If they slow themselves up a little bit, if they fall back ever so slightly, that's going to allow for Byron Daly to catch back up, and it is going to be a 2-man battle here at the front with that Ninja Trader Esports team. They're going to have 2 horses in this fight.
There's a look down below you seen for a moment with the kilometers per hour being carried, more than 200 of them off through the corners here in Sector 2. And it's always interesting when it comes to Spa when you think about the ebbs and flows of the track. Sector 1 is all about the speed. Sector 2, though, is really the most important part when you consider it, because it's the technical part, where if you make mistakes in that middle portion of the track with all the tighter turns and the harder braking zones, you struggle to set up an opportunity to be able to make a pass through Sector 3, and in turn, which could cost you time for the next lap for Sector 1. Sector 2 feeds into a lot of the pace here at Spa.
It most certainly does, but we have also seen drivers that go for a heavy downforce setup and just find themselves sitting ducks on that Camel Straight. So it's really all about balance here, Justin. You want to be able to get through with just enough to not lose the car through Sector 2, keep up nice and close behind, and then still fly down Camel.
It's all about that balancing act, as mentioned, because you can have a lot of downforce with the speed in the corners, but if you don't have the speed to make the pass down the straights, that's the danger when it comes to Spa, absolutely here. As you see some of the drivers lining up around that mid-pack. 9th on back has fallen 17 seconds back to the race lead, but it has remained ever tight amongst this pack. James Holland is amongst one of the top competitors in the AM class, for example. He is currently 5th in the AM class. The leader for the AM class is Robert Ridgway, for reference, who is 8 seconds back, the leader 10 seconds out.
Yeah, so he's running in a little bit of a field of his own, but Michael Broomhead is keeping him honest. Those are 2 duking it out, as there is Brett Barrett on your screen. Dave Peterson thought about taking a little bit of a look on him, as I think Johnny Luna also may be able to make a move going down into Lacombe on James Holland.
More so a defensive move, DJ, in that mark. Keep in mind, Holland entered the lap behind Luna's machine. Luna last time at 2:12.3 for reference to Holland's 2:11.8. So we're already quickly, keep in mind, approaching the halfway mark with how quick these lap times are. You mentioned the big time total on the track of more than 2 minutes. The pace they're carrying is extremely quick, even for Spa standards.
Yes, it is. These drivers are absolutely going for broke out here. Nobody is holding anything back. But Justin, what's really surprising me is just the consistent, quick pace by our leading quartet here. Day, Fournier, Daly, and Palacio. They are absolutely on it, as well as the tenacity here from Nick Horvath. We have seen this Britannia iSports driver just absolutely going tooth and nail every corner. Remember, he was the one that made the pass going down into Fagnes. He's now trying to make a look on the outside, coming out of Stavelo, going through into the entry of Blanchimont. He just wants to get forward.
Playing with a bit of fire right there for a split second. Horvath able to regroup, though. Still leads this respective pack. Steven Ritters has been able to break away by 6 seconds. This group as a result of all the squabbling. Tomer Gore has just had a bit of an issue, as well as Donald Olsen. 4:13 for Olsen, the 7 for Gore. And you can see one of them just so happens to be somewhere on the moon. That is the farthest I've seen an F3 in the runoff area in Spa in a while.
And this has a little bit of shades of Jensen Button's incident coming down into the bus stop a number of years ago. You can see they're just ready to get onto the binders here, and I just don't think they anticipated that early of braking and just getting sent off and punted.
That definitely looks like massive suspension damage with that contact to the right rear. That, at the very least, means those drivers both have had to go to the pit lane. Meanwhile, in the case of the battle for 9th, Johnny Luna up to 10th, James Holland to the grass. Holland spun all the way to the edge of the runoff area.
That was all 3 cars involved in that battle, Justin. Off into the grass there. Horvath, Luna, and Holland all having that problem. Let's watch this from overhead. There you see Horvath being opportunistic, tucking into the draft there of Holland ahead of him to get by Luna. There they go. They're going to keep side by side. A little bit of a tap there from Luna, and then that was just a self-spin there up in front.
Just lucky, though, to be able to avoid the tire wall. Keep in mind, DJ, that could have added significant damage. Instead, race continues on for Holland in 17th, however. The next closest car behind just had the damage repair. Meanwhile, for the race leaders, squabbling continues. Day continuing to try and break a bit of the slipstream. Daly continue to remain ever close. Fournier being the meat in the sandwich amongst this. As mentioned, Fournier back-to-back race victories on the season. 3 total in the campaign. Back-to-back max points days entering today. 37. The past 2 rounds scored each.
Exactly, and it looks like Byron Daly dropping back a little bit there from these leading 2. But I think Daly may be in a great position here to just be able to be a little bit lighter on that left foot. Look at the run from Fournier, though, here. He's going to come up behind Raymond Day, moves to what will be the outside of the first part of Lake Holm. They're going to just go into a drag race down the Kemmel Straight.
And I've noticed a little difference there with that pass. Fournier was only able to get up to 159 down the straight. Remember when the same move was attempted by Day? Day hit the rev limiter up the Kemmel Straight. So that's that little difference popping up with the speed meters in turn, DJ. Down the straightaways, they have a bit of puffs of smoke in front. I believe that's from one of the cars that have gone back rolling. That is Joey Tebben, who is the next closest car up.
Yeah, and what that's going to play into then for Justin, for me, is the fact that if Day is hitting that rev limiter coming there, that means that if he tries to go for that overtake, he's going to be using a little bit more fuel in doing so. That could hurt him if he tries to go for an overcut, and that is excluding just the fact that if you hit the rev limiter, your speed pretty much stops and you're not nearly able to go as fast.
I'm very curious, though, what the traffic situation can come into play for in a moment or so. At least one car is within range of being the traffic, as mentioned. When it comes to Joey Tebben 60, who is the last car running on the track, he is currently just 10 car lengths up the road. As well to keep in mind, though, too, in that factor of things, been intriguing how the drivers are trying to factor in running behind one another, because it can be difficult to run tire to tire behind someone with the open wheel cars here on iRacing, especially with the potential of aero wash, as Tebben moves into the pit lane to move away as being the traffic.
Yeah, good heads-up move there from Tebben. This should be roughly within the fuel window, I would imagine, so I think he may just be coming in here being a good competitor and getting out of the way. Watching this battle in the back, Fournier setting the fastest lap of the race. Not surprising, given the mega slipstream that he got on that last lap. Let's keep an eye here for second and third. There could be some team communication here. Day unable to get the job done. He may allow for Byron Daly to get by down the Kemmel Straight here, see if they can play a little bit of a slingshot game and get him up in touch with Alex Fournier.
And that may be partly what's coming in play here. Both the drivers now up towards the rev limiter. Daly trying to attempt the switch, but the switch not able to get it. Daly couldn't get the pull he was looking for. And that can't be a team call right there, DJ. That's got to be 2 teammates just fighting it out there.
And it seems a little bit like the Roger Penske team rule, which is there are no team orders until later on in the race.
Oh!
Day's around!
For the second straight week at the midway point, Raymond Day has crashed from the second position. He did the same at Donington Park. He's done it again at Spa.
Oh, this is just absolutely heartbreaking for the 77 here. This is going down into Malmedy. There you see him. He's got a decent line. Car looks a little bit squirrely at the corner, going down into No Name, catches too much of the curb in the Astro, and that rear end just will not grip.
And the one major difference between the Donington Park incident, where he got a little bit of the tire wall, and this one, This one is enough damage to end the race for Day. In fact, here's the look from Daly.
Yeah, you can see that rear wing just hanging off the car. Raymond has already towed back into the pits. Unfortunately, I do believe that is Day done and dusted for him.
So for Day, that will be the first DNF on the season. There's already been a DNS to factor in for the potential of drops. So in other words, that is going to really hurt Day the rest of the campaign, potentially to say the very least from this point forward. Meanwhile, some of the battles continuing on. Round 11 spot overall on the board or so. You see some of the drivers are coming in front of them. Horvath has just pulled on in, for example, right at halfway, in fact. Bring Barrett, I should say, with them.
Yeah, so both of those drivers just opting to split the strategy halfway down the middle. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a double-edged sword with this, Justin, and it's kind of how we talked about in the downforce setups on this track. Now, you will be able to run faster through Sector 2 if you are out in some clean air. You'll be able to run your own lines, not have to worry about anybody else around you, but you will lose out on that drafting buddy ahead of you that can help you gain some speed down the Kemmel Straight and through Sector 3. And so it's a little bit one way or the other.
And as you talked about, fuel's going to be so critical. This is a thirsty track, mind you, with the size of this facility. 4.35 miles, 7 kilometers. So in other words, that margin of window is much smaller compared to, say, a 3-kilometer road course circuit to be able to race that. So a lot of that's going to be factored in to keep in mind. So at this point, Fournier, a 2-second buffer over Daly. Ridgway, along with Broomhead, are also tight, keep in mind, for the M side, for the top M points currently. So that's an air battle to keep in mind as well as these drivers approach that window.
Oh, and Brett Barrett has an incident coming out of pit lane. Unfortunately, he lost it coming up through Lacombe. And exactly to your point there, Justin, we go back to check out this replay. This is him just coming in. I'm not sure if he changed tires, maybe on some cooler rubber. Catches a little bit of that inside curb. Looks like it's fine through there. Oh, that car just wanted to break away from him just as he turned in.
Can say at the very least he did, it looked like, pulled up on the back jacks more so in the pit lane, if I look correctly. Either way, a rough race for the Ninja Trader Esports M side of the paddock today. But Fournier continues to chug along. Remember, he was saving for a few laps prior to the switch-arounds a few laps ago. So that's something to keep in mind, as now we're about 24 total minutes into the race.
Yeah, indeed we are, Justin. And further to your point about this just being such a long track, I don't have the exact statistic ahead of me, but I believe you're on throttle here for about 75 to 85% of the lap, which means you are using a lot of fuel. And so that is the other part of it that makes Spa just such a thirsty trap. Ooh, that looked like Robert Ridgway was getting a little bit squirrely there coming off of Malmedy. Now they make their way down into Ravage. This is Michael Broomhead. Remember, he is one of those drivers that just loves to run calm, cool, and collected. If he gets into a good rhythm, he is one to watch out for. And this is a crucial battle. This is for the AM win right now.
And that's a great point to mention, because that calm, cool collectiveness for him is one of the main reasons why he entered today with that 13-point advantage over Richards. Richards' trouble, that lead could grow. Kita, who is third in the points on the AM side, major troubles. Barrett, fourth in the standings. He just crashed. Essentially, all Broomhead needs to do is finish the race, and he comes out of here with a substantial lead to the AM standings.
Most certainly does, but I can also tell you, Justin, that when you are behind the cockpit of a Formula 3 car like this and you see the driver right in front of you, it's a lot harder to be thinking about that championship standings. He is going to be thinking about it, but he also wants this AM class win. He wants to go for it as much as possible as both drivers break down into the bus stop, and that's going to be Ridgway peeling off to go into the pits.
And Ridgway, keep in mind, has been either on his own or the lead car of his train with Broomhead just about this entire run, so with 7 to go, the Atomic Racing Machine goes into the pit lane for a service. Just about everyone else continuing to push as far as they can here. A few others starting to indicate in the mid-pack they plan to come in, including James Carter for service as Ridgeway. See, taking a service and very quick, and that's going to be the expectation from this point. Try and have it as close as you can to the fuel mark to try and get a little bit quicker, but also save some time in the pit lane.
Yeah, and to that point, Justin, I don't anticipate drivers taking tires during these stops. Now, adding tires to the stops really only adds about 1.5 to 2 seconds, but with the track temperatures continuing to be down at 69 degrees, I just don't think that they want to risk coming back out on cool tires. Furthermore, Spa is not exactly known as a massively abrasive surface. It's relatively kind to tires as tracks go, so I don't think there is a need for it, and I think drivers are going to opt to save the time in pit lane and just take fuel.
Seems to be the play for many of these drivers in these types of races. The question is, how tight can they get on those margins as you see some of these drivers continue the rhythm. Here's Fournier now once again. He's now pulled away by 2.2 seconds over Daly's car. Fournier looking very consistent. And keep in mind, Fournier runs a lot, and I mean a lot, with this car. If you follow him on social media, on platforms like Twitter, he tweets all the time about his love of this car, about whenever he's racing, including this series, and now he brings that car into the pit lane. He's looking to try and get a 3rd straight Grand Prix victory as he's now into the yellow cones. Daly will follow.
Exactly. It did actually look like there that Daly was able to come in with a little bit more speed and get on the binders with more efficiency than Fournier, so he may find himself able to catch up just a hair there in pit lane. Also, Palacio, Verity, I'm seeing Broomhead following in behind them.
It looks like the pit party is now underway for just about everybody. 12 laps seems to be the number for a majority, if not the entire field here, the furthest they can go. Fournier's off and away. Daly picked up a lot of time, though. That's that pro experience coming in, I think, DJ. Half a second picked up in the pit lane.
Yes, indeed. He's still going to be a little far off right now, but he will be within striking range. Ooh, Justin, we have got to jump back. Michael Broomhead just jumped Robert Ridgeway coming out of the pits right now, but Ridgeway is in hot pursuit.
So a big strategy call. Sees the switch around. Broomhead making the overcut work, but Ridgeway wants the spot back. This is for a top spot for the AM class now. Ridgeway sails it off to the right. Broomhead trying to stay around the middle to left side of the racetrack. Both reaching about 155 down the straights. Broomhead able to hold on for now, but a little bit loose on those rear tires through the arc here.
Yeah, not looking the best there, but he's at least got the advantage, running that car very wide, coming through Rivage. I like the line from Ridgeway, better taking the later apex, though. That 17 Atomic Racing Machine looking very, very threatening. Both drivers running very wide at the exit of No Name. That is okay there, and now they line up for Pujol.
Good run for both of them this time through the corner. Ridgeway a little bit tighter along the rumble strips. Coming up to 5 laps to go, this time by the 8th round of the season for the PRL Open Wheel Series. Ridgeway pushing hard, nearly going and picking up a couple off tracks here in this sector alone, trying to keep up as close as he can to the back end of that 5. We both know the speed Ridgeway can have in this car. We both know he wants this win.
Indeed, Justin, and this could be the point where we see some of these drivers, let's say, strategically use those off tracks. Remember, it's a 13 incident limit where you will get a drive-through, but we have seen drivers be very, very careful early on, know the limits of the track, and know just where they've got to push. Oh, that was a great run through the bus stop for Ridgeway. He has closed down that gap again, definitely threatening Broomhead here.
Ridgeway definitely looks comfortable when it comes to the braking zone, a little bit deeper. He's sending the corners through. Both of them nearly hit the attenuator wall for a split second. As now Ridgeway tries to stay within 1 car length. Now under 5 laps to go. Of note, Luna has just had an issue. Luna had been up to 7th and had jumped past a couple drivers prior and after, should say, the pit stop window. However, Luna's day appears to be done after contact with Nick Horvath. Steven Ritters, who had a 7-second longer pit stop, has lost time as the side-by-side between the M cars heats up again. Broomhead still holds on. Ridgeway going for the switchback.
Tried to go for the switchback, but wow, almost getting it down there.
Ridgeway nearly spun it. Ridgeway nearly spun the car.
Oh, we have got to check out a replay of this, Justin. This was some of the best car control I've seen in a good long while. We ride on board with Ridgeway, trying to take that outside route around the first part of Lake Combe, and Broomhead ahead of him just perfectly covering it off.
And then the mistake comes up right off through Melody, right here. Thought about the peak. Major save right there.
Woo-hoo. I do not want to be around Robert Ridgeway right now, as I'd imagine there was a little bit of a stream of profanity coming out of him after that one. That one was as close as humanly possible.
Worth noting he's wearing a Mr. Meeseeks helmet for tonight's race. He might need some Meeseeks to be able to help him find some time back up for that position. 4 laps to go this time. Of note, Daly has kept within 1.5 seconds for the pro lead as well on the racetrack. The top 4 is all pro drivers, then 5th through all the way down to the very bottom of the pylon are AM drivers currently.
Yeah, exactly, and we were deprived one of those pro drivers starting out here today. Michael Coffray was a DNS, and then Raymond Day obviously getting taken out as well. You can see that little bobble there from Ridgeway has forced him to fall back a little bit from Michael Broomhead. Now, this could be a little bit of a strategy call here from Ridgeway. Remember, these tires should get you through to the end of the race, no problem, but they are susceptible to overheating, so he may just be cooling them down here for a second and maybe make a full-out assault in the last 2 laps.
That's a good point to bring up, because some of the drivers, for example, when it came to the Dallara IRL1 chassis, had talked about the importance of doing that and the strengths of doing so in turn. You're seeing, meanwhile, a battle going on. This is for 8th position. Hamill trying to ride in front of Dave Peterson currently. Peterson, though, keep within the slipstream. They're matching the lap times currently, and as you can tell, similar liveries working together here. Not anymore, though, with the points on the line. There goes the 35. And the 35 wants to spot and takes it.
Does indeed. He is on by now, and that is Ritters directly ahead of them. And now that that pass has been able to been made with that little bit of overspeed from Peterson, they've cut the gap down to about 1.2 seconds. So I don't think this battle is quite done yet. If Peterson can keep some good times here through Sector 2, he may certainly have a little bit of a run.
May notice, though, at the start of this sector, Peterson had to swerve hard to the right to be able to avoid getting an incident point. That kind of may be the telling sign of that being a factor in on which exact lines you can take, as some of the drivers had said, including Joey Devon prior to today's race, this is the type of track you need to be careful with that. But also consider this is one of the tracks which does have the newer off-track rules, where if your car is within half the boundary marked amongst the in-sim rules, you're safe from the incident point.
Indeed you are, so that could come into play. Remember, I said some of these drivers may be saving up some of their off-tracks for these last couple of laps. 3 laps to go here around Spa, though. These battles are starting to separate out ever so slightly, but that does not mean that there is not more action in store, especially with some of the late braking there that you see out of Sean Duhamel trying to keep track on his teammate.
Oh, look now. Remember the 533 and some of the struggles in qualifying. Gunderson has gained 8 positions. He's almost in slipstream range, right behind these two. The next car behind is almost in slipstream range as well. The biggest mover in the field in McLaughlin in the 90 car. So you see some of the movements throughout the pack so far. how things have played out.
And some of those drivers in the back just doing a great job of keeping their nose down, running a solid race, especially with a big field like this at Spa, standing start. That's exactly how you want to do it. They'll be in for a good points haul here today. And they've really just got to focus on coming down this hill only a few more times here at this point.
By the way, of no bad news, if you are a fan of Gsrc, he was the one that's getting significant damage repairs from minutes before. From some contact, his engine is now just blown up in the pit lane. That means his race completely now kaput. Alex Fournier, meanwhile, continuing to stretch his legs a little bit. 2/10 plus picked up last time by, and with 2 laps to go, Fournier looking for win number 4 on the season.
And that was an absolutely textbook way to go through the bus stop. Just the right amount of curbing there, Justin. We saw some drivers doing that, taking a little bit too much there earlier, but I believe Nick Horvath has had a problem.
Nick Horvath, in fact, has had a problem. He's got it back gathered up, but the thing is, he's lost several positions this lap. Horvath was in 14th position to start a lap. He lost at least 15 seconds because of a mistake through one of the biggest trouble spots of the entire Grand Prix today.
Yeah, this was just another loose rear end coming around Malmedy. You can see everything's nice and together here, brings that car over, and I think that's just maybe a little bit too much speed. Those rear tires just not wanting to comply. The car had started to spin out before he even got around to the apex of the corner. So definitely throwing off Horvath there. He now finds himself back down in 15th. Tyler Gore's about a second and a half ahead of him.
Horvath losing a lot of time on the track to keep in mind. Coming up to the white flag this time, and guess who's pushing hard? Byron Daly has chopped half a second off the deficit, 4/10 in the past lap alone. And take a look at some of the angles of the wings here. Compare that to some of the other drivers behind. That wing very much angled nearly horizontally currently for the top 2. Whole way around the track currently.
That means they're a little bit more trimmed out there, just absolutely going at it there. There you can see cutting down some time there, slowly but surely. Obviously, a few little outlier laps there where Fournier was able to gain a little bit back. Gap now at 1.3 seconds between Fournier and Daly. He's going to need to be very, very good here into bus stop and into La Source. He wants to be within about a second to get the full effect of the draft. That may not even be close enough to get him to get the pass done, but it'll at least make him threaten the Scotsman here in this final second sector.
Barney the flagman waving the white flag. You see him very much at the edge of the wall, but Daly, he has picked up 7/10 in 1 lap. Can he close up in time, though, to have a chance to give his team its first win of the season? Fournier currently leads by 1 second as they make their way up the hillside.
Here they go. It's not an issue of Fournier saving fuel. I can confirm they had about the same pit stop delta. All right, so there's a little bit of the effect of that draft for Daly. As I said, he's within a second. That's going to help him along a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to get him on by. They both dive their way through Lacombe. He's just got to keep the pressure up here, Justin.
Daly trying to do anything he can to eat into the deficit from the 116. And it's the battle for the pro lead. Major tire smoke and a lockup for Fournier costs him a couple tenths. Daly now within 8/10 through Sector 2.
Oh, and very wide through No Name there for Alex Fournier. Now, that will be an off track for him, but as I said, I think he'll be okay in terms of the limit. That may have been a little bit of a strategic off track if we're honest. But there they come, gap expanding back out to about 1.2 seconds, but Daly's still looking threatening.
How big was that off track, by the way? How about 3/10 picked up as a result of that? He is now back to 1.3 seconds. Daly starting to lose a bit of ground now throughout this final sector. Of note, the 5 machine has held on to the AM advantage now by more than about 3 seconds. But for Alex Fournier, it's been an eventful race once more for the 116 machine. He came in today as the favorite to win the championship with the points totals, and now, for the pro side, he'll build up that gap even more so. Win number 4 in his sights for the final corner. Alex Fournier gets through cleanly. The checker flag waves. Alex Fournier wins his 3rd straight in the PRL Open Wheel Series.
A great defense there from him, and now we jump back to focus on that number 5 machine again. Michael Broomhead gonna take victory here in the AM class, provided he can go through the bus stop nice and easy. 1 and 2, and there he goes. Broomhead will take the lead, will take the win here, and will extend his championship lead in the AM category.
And that smart driving has secured him the victory indeed. Some great drives, to say the very least, throughout tonight's action. For Broomhead, by the way, that's his 2nd class victory of the season. As the top 10 trying to finish things on out. The blown trendy racing machine needs to drive up 8 total spots from the starting position. From 18th starting spot to 10th. Biggest mover ends up being McLaughlin, up 14. Of note, Johnny Luna did have trouble coming towards the white flag lap. Beat the last of the DNF, so 19 drivers taking the checker flag here at Spa. With that, post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching Gsrc from the virtual circuit of Spa-Francorchamps.
That's a battle for position. That's for...
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Gsrc's coverage of the PRL Open Wheel Series. iRacing's virtual spa, Justin Prince alongside TJ Clark and our director Joe Peak for what was an entertaining race for much of the Grand Prix. Alex Fournier is able to come away with the advantage over Byron Daly by 1.3 seconds to secure a 3rd straight victory, 4th total of the campaign, to expand the potential gap for the points lead. It was a very quiet race, meanwhile, from our 3rd place finisher in pro class. Lacio finished in 3rd, 7.8 seconds back. Then behind them, it was Verity in 4th position, round out the pro drivers. The winner for the AM class today was Michael Broomhead, play of the overcut, working to his favor, pulled away by around 2 seconds at the checker flag from Robert Ridgway after Ridgway had a massive slide coming out of Melody. Then Steven Ritters overcame the longest pit stop of anyone inside the top 15 to finish in 7th. Dave Peterson and Sean DeHamel rounded out the top 9, and Matthew Gunderson finished in 10th. DJ.
Owen McLaughlin came home in 11th and was your biggest mover up the race, up 14 positions on the day, followed by James Holland and James Carter. Tyler Gore was 14th, followed by Nick Horvath, the last driver to finish on the lead lap, with Brett Barrett and Takeshi Kita a lap down. Adam McDonald was 2 laps down, and Johnny Luna and Joni Tebben round out your top 20, both of whom were 5 laps down.
And behind them, 10 laps down, a DNF for Day, a heartbreaker, a second straight race, running in second within the draft and slipstream of Fournier. Another crash leads to a bad result. Donald Olson finishes in 22nd, 12 laps down. Daniel Barnett in 23rd, followed by Scarali in 24th, blew a motor while trying to get repairs done in the closing stages. Christopher Richards needed a strong performance, instead he finishes 25th. Then, rounding out the drivers who took the green flag once more, it was Jonathan Almanar. Finished 18 laps down, did not even complete the first lap of this one to round up the starters. All the Cofre did not take the green flag. But today, it was 1 position shy of the top step of the podium for Byron Daly, former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competitor. Today finished in 2nd once more. Byron now joins us at the broadcast booth. Byron, first things first. P2 once more, another top 5 run, yes, but how are you feeling after coming up just short behind Alex Fournier today?
Yeah, it is always a little disappointing to finish 2nd, but still, Alex has been on it all year. It's going to be, it's hard to, get one over on him, and, to finish P2 today, it really kind of probably all I had.
How much, if you don't mind me asking, did the mistake from essentially your team boss come into play, if you don't mind me asking? Because, of course, it was tight amongst the top 3, and then it was Day who had the spin at the halfway mark.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that, I wasn't quite fast enough to really, catch Alex by myself, and I really needed the toe, and losing the toe kind of just put me in my own time bubble. So it wasn't, it was unfortunate because Ray was having a really good race, and I hate to see that for him. But I also, checked up a ton for that, and that kind of got me outside that draft bubble there, and it kind of, it wasn't all she wrote, but it definitely didn't help. It was kind of unfortunate.
Fortunate indeed, but still a strong points result today. Just a couple races left to go about the campaign here. What's your approach now for rounds 9 and 10 to close out the season for Ninja Trader Esports?
Honestly, get as many points as I can for Ninja Trader Esports. I'm going to say this, and it's not going to be fun, but I really don't think the Drivers' Championship is in reach for me. I'd really need to find some more pace in this car to keep up with Alex, and it's hard, man. I was just struggling trying to figure out, okay, I can't drive too hard because it'll just plow, and then you drive too easy, you just lose time. It's just trying to find that balance, and it's just been like that for me all year. So unless I can find something magical in the last 2 races to kind of let me drive the car the way I want to drive it, I think this is probably going to be it. So just going to have to try to score as many points as possible and kind of close the season strong.
Anyone you want to thank for the run today?
Yeah, just Precision Racing League, put on the league, you guys broadcasting, Ninja Trader, being on the car, Ray, for letting me be a part of the team. So it's been fun this whole season, and try to close it out strong.
Congratulations on the podium finish today for the Pro Class, Byron.
Thank you.
Byron Daly finishes in 2nd today for Ninja Trader Esports Pro and their Pro slotting. That brings up Palacio, who finished in 3rd position. A very quiet day for him, DJ.
It was indeed. Julio, looks like you were kind of running in a little bit of a race of your own there, but to come home on the podium for the SRT Esports team, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Basically, I had a high downforce setup, so I had to work with somebody. So once I realized that, that Alex and, Byron kind of like took off on me, it was kind of hard. But just trying to keep, Verity and, behind me, and just had a good race.
Well, when you get into a position like that, I mean, are you, actively trying to push ahead and see if you can close the gap, or especially at a place like Spa where there are just so many areas to catch you out, are you just kind of playing it cool and just going, okay, I'm watching my deltas here?
Well, when I got around Verity, my plan was to actually work with him because I had a feeling he was high downforce too, because he was the only guy I was able to pass in a straightaway. But then I think he had a little bit of a glitch and it fell a couple of seconds back. And if I would have waited for him, I was going to get a big gap. And then the other thing that I realized is the lower, downforce cars like Alex and Byron and Raymond, when they were fighting, you could see in the infield I was catching them, because when they're fighting, they're kind of struggling like a little bit, and I was able to make up some time there. But kind of once they got in single file, they just had a little bit more pace. So it was kind of playing that mental game of trying to see what I could do.
Gotcha. Well, we turn our eyes to next week, and I think that's going to be a track where there's not going to be a whole lot of discrepancy in terms of high downforce or low downforce. I think it'll be pretty high downforce across the board. But how do you think Zandvoort's going to go?
Yeah, we all did some testing last night, and I can tell you it's going to be crazy. I think luck is going to play into it big time. There are so many places where you can go off. You got to be fast. It's kind of hard to pass. So that one's going to be one that's going to be fun. And I think just kind of getting through the race is going to be a win. So we'll see how that goes. But I definitely look forward to it.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world, Julio. Anybody you'd like to thank for this run today?
Yeah, I want to thank my team at SRT Esports. Thank all of you at Gsrc and PRL.
Well, we thank you for putting on a good show. That was Julio Palacio, your third place finisher here today. And now, Justin, you have caught up with our AM class winner, Michael Broomhead.
Yes, indeed. Mike Broomhead coming away with the AM class victory. Took a bit of strategy in part. Mike, how would you describe your victory today?
I don't know how to describe it. It was hard. I mean, I guess hard is the word. Yeah, Ridgway was fast, and he definitely had pace. We had completely different setups, but it was just about maximizing where I was strong and trying not to lose too much when he was strong.
Talk us through the pit stop window and the strategy play, because you ended up going for the overcut, which got you in front of Ridgway, which led to an intense battle for about a lap or so. Talk us through the thought process for how you wanted to play the strategy, knowing you're running behind Ridgway much of that first run.
Yeah, so I knew I had that extra lap in me. Usually, obviously, if you go a little bit longer, you can put in less fuel. So I did plan to go on that lap anyway. He pitted early, obviously, to try something different. Tyler Scarali at this point was already out the race and helping me, and he told me that Ridgway didn't take tires. So I had that in my back pocket. So I knew that I had to not take tires as well. Got in, stopped on my marks, and just got out in front. But I was nervous about the run. Obviously, he had a toe on me for a few laps. I managed to get away from him there, so not too bad.
DJ and I talked about this a little bit during the broadcast, where, of course, when you're in the car, you don't necessarily, as DJ would say, think about the championship fight. But put things in perspective, the drivers coming into today in second, third, and fourth all had major issues. That, in turn, has currently given you about a 37-point advantage now, entering the final two rounds. What will your approach now be, knowing you've got a massive buffer over your competitors as a result of their unfortunate incidents for their cases?
Yeah, it's going to be the same as always, really. My entire goal is just to get through the race and just tick off laps and try to minimize mistakes. It's always about what I'm doing, not so much about what anybody else is doing, because obviously, like you say, there is a point of advantage now. So it's, I have that in my pocket. I can, I guess, take it a little bit easier. As I don't mean go slower and and risk it, but I can definitely not push as hard and just make sure I bring the car home. And I think that's what will win it.
Anything else you'd like to add, or anyone you want to thank for your run today, especially here on Remembrance Day?
Yeah, of course. Everybody's, thinking of grandfathers and great-grandfathers and that sort of thing. Mine was in the war as well, like many people had. And obviously we're thinking about them. We ran the poppies on the car today, obviously. So, you know, just thinking about them, but in the racing terms, Walden International School, Mountain Range Marketing, Elise'sLight.com, the Britannia boys, Mimi, my family, and you guys for putting on a great show as always. Thank you for all you do.
Congratulations on the class victory today, Michael.
Thank you so much.
That's Mr. Broomhead coming away with the class victory on the AM side. And DJ, I now turn to you. Your final thoughts on this one, because this race had a lot of intensity at some points, a lot of patience needed, but in the end, the drivers who composed themselves the best and were able to minimize mistakes were the ones who ran away with the victories in their classes.
Indeed, Justin. I mean, we really talked about that last time out at Donington, about how it was just minimizing mistakes, but the same rang true here today at Spa. And I think when we get to Zandvoort, that is going to be a whole different kettle of fish entirely. That is a track where it is very, very difficult to pass. iRacing has obviously not modeled the new banking that exists around there, so speeds are going to be a little bit slower down that main straightaway. And really and truly there, I think that is going to be a battle of qualifying. We need to pay really close attention who can get themselves out on pole, who can get themselves towards the pointy end of the field, and that should really be a good indicator of how the race is going to go.
And keep this in mind too, with some of the attrition built up today, there's going to be a lot of point discussions for the next 2 rounds. Let's put it that way, because while the pro side did have an increase, it appears, with some of the data coming in for the PRL side on their websites, it's worth noting that the AM side and the team side are both going to become major thought processes for the next 2 rounds to close off the campaign. But on that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning into tonight's action from Spa. I'd also like to take the time to thank the sponsors for the PRL's Open Wheel Series, ASR, Design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free training simulator to start tracking your performance. We'd also like to take the time to thank the companies who provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on screen. Additional thanks go to Jude Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of our great work, including our Bandcamp. Thanks to the team today in DJ, Joe, and Dougie. You can find more info about Gsrc at theglobalsimracingchannel.com or our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/Gsrc. Keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on Gsrc. As talked about by DJ, the next race goes to the old style Zandvoort. Zandvoort's going to have a lot of drama to talk about, let's put it that way, for the pre-ultimate race of the season. That will take place again Thursday, November 18th. Catch that coverage 8:45 p.m. Eastern here on Gsrc. You also have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen. So be sure to check those out and mark them down in your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.